Fleet Admiral Zorath stood on the observation deck of the Federation flagship Eternal Vigilance and watched the human ships burn. 3 of their destroyers had been reduced to twisted metal in the first wave of the Krell attack. 2 more were venting atmosphere. And yet the humans did not retreat. They did not call for help. They simply kept fighting. "Impossible," Zorath whispered. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep confusion among his species, the Valorians. "Their losses are at 40%. Why do they not withdraw?" His second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Threx, consulted the tactical display. His tentacles moved across the holographic interface with practiced ease. "They have received no orders to retreat, Admiral. In fact, their fleet commander has ordered all ships to advance." "Advance? Into that?" Zorath pointed at the wall of Krell warships. There were hundreds of them, each one bristling with weapons. The human fleet numbered only 32 ships. Now, after the initial exchange, they had 27. "It appears so, Admiral." Zorath had served in the Federation Navy for 60 standard years. He had fought in 12 major conflicts and commanded fleets in 6 of them. He had seen courage. He had seen foolishness. But he had never seen anything like this. The Federation had first encountered humans only 15 years ago. They were a young species, barely capable of interstellar travel when a Federation survey vessel found their home system. Since then, they had expanded quickly, establishing colonies on 7 worlds. They had joined the Federation 5 years ago, contributing ships and soldiers to the common defense. And now they were dying. "Open a channel to the human flagship," Zorath ordered. "I wish to speak with their commander." The communications officer, a slender Rigelian with blue-tinged skin, worked her console. "Channel open, Admiral." A human face appeared on the main view screen. She was female, middle-aged by human standards, with short gray hair and sharp eyes. There was a cut on her forehead and smoke drifted behind her. Her ship was clearly taking damage. "Admiral Zorath," she said. Her voice was calm, almost casual. "What can I do for you?" "Admiral Chen, you must withdraw your forces. Your losses are unacceptable. Fall back to our position, and we will provide covering fire." Chen shook her head. "Negative, Admiral, we hold this position." "Why? The Krell outnumber you 5 to 1. You cannot win this engagement." "With respect, Admiral, that is not the point." Zorath felt his confusion deepen. "Then what is the point, Admiral Chen?" "There are 3 colony ships behind us, 40,000 civilians. If we fall back, the Krell break through. If the Krell break through, those people die. We can evacuate them, send transports." "There is no time," Chen said. She glanced at something off-screen, then looked back at Zorath. "We have calculated the scenarios. Every simulation, every projection, they all say the same thing. We hold here or those people die. So we hold." "But you will die." Chen smiled. It was a strange expression, Zorath thought. There was no fear in it, no resignation, just acceptance. "Probably, but they will live." An explosion rocked her ship. The image flickered, then steadied. Chen did not even flinch. "Admiral Chen, I do not understand. Your people. They fight as if death means nothing to them, as if they have no fear. I have studied many species. All of them fear death. It is the most basic instinct. But humans," he shook his head. "You confuse me." "Would you like to know why we fight this way, Admiral?" "Yes, I truly would." Chen leaned forward slightly. "Because we know something that most species do not know. We know what we are fighting for. Not territory, not resources, not power. We fight for each other. For the person next to us. For the family waiting at home. For the strangers on those colony ships who we have never met and will never meet." "But that does not explain the lack of fear." "It explains everything," Chen said. "Fear comes from caring about yourself. When you stop caring about yourself, when you care only about others, fear becomes irrelevant. Every soldier on my ships knows they might die today. They accepted that when they put on the uniform. What they cannot accept, what they will not accept, is letting innocent people die when they could have saved them." Another explosion. The view screen flickered again. This time it took longer to stabilize. "I must go, Admiral," Chen said. "My ship needs me." "Admiral Chen, wait, please, help me understand. You are intelligent beings, you know you cannot win, you know you will die, and yet you fight anyway. Where does this come from? Is it your biology, your culture, your religion?" Chen paused. For a moment something soft appeared in her eyes, something almost like pity. "It comes from loss, Admiral. Humans have a long history, a bloody history. We have killed each other in numbers that would horrify you. We have committed terrible crimes against ourselves. But through all of it, through all the pain and the suffering and the death, we learned one lesson. We learned that the only thing that matters, the only thing that has ever mattered, is each other." I still do not understand. You will, Chen said. One day, when you lose something precious, you will understand. Because that is when you will discover what you are willing to die for, and more importantly, what you are willing to live for. The channel closed. On the tactical display, Zareth watched the human ship surge forward. They were launching missiles now, hundreds of them, overwhelming the Krell point defense systems. 2 more human ships exploded, but they took 4 Krell destroyers with them. Admiral Threx said quietly, "Shall we join the engagement?" Zoreth was silent for a long moment. He was thinking about Chen's words, about loss, about sacrifice, about caring more for others than for yourself. "All ships," he said finally, "advance to support the human fleet, full attack speed." "Sir, our orders from Federation Command were to observe and report. We are not authorized to engage." "I am changing those orders," Zareth said. "Open a channel to all Federation ships." The communications officer hesitated, then complied. "Channel open, Admiral." "This is Fleet Admiral Zareth to all Federation vessels. The humans are dying to protect innocent civilians. They are dying because they believe that some things are more important than survival. I am not certain I understand their reasoning. But I know this, I will not stand by and watch them die alone. All ships engage the enemy. For the humans, for the civilians, for the Federation." The response was immediate. Across the fleet, hundreds of Federation vessels began to move. Valorian cruisers, Rigelian battleships, even a handful of Threxian carriers, their pilots already scrambling to their fighters. "Admiral," Threx said, "Federation Command will not be pleased." "Federation Command is not here," Zoreth replied. "We are, and the humans have taught us something today, something important." "What is that, Admiral?" Zoreth watched the tactical display as his fleet joined the battle. Already, the tide was turning. The Krell, surprised by the sudden reinforcement, were beginning to fall back. "They have taught us why they fight fearlessly," he said. "It is not because they do not value their lives. It is because they value other lives more. And that, Sub-Admiral, is a kind of courage I have never seen before." The battle raged for 3 more hours. When it was over, the Krell fleet had been destroyed. The colony ships were safe. 32,000 civilians reached their destination without harm. The cost was high. 14 human ships had been lost, over 3,000 human lives, but Admiral Chen had survived, her flagship battered but intact. Zareth requested a meeting with her aboard the Eternal Vigilance. She arrived 2 hours later, still wearing her damaged uniform, still carrying the weight of the battle on her shoulders. "Admiral Zareth," she said as she entered his quarters, "thank you for your support. Without your intervention, we would not have survived." "I should thank you," Zareth replied. "You taught me something today, something I have been too old and too cautious to learn on my own." "What was that?" "You taught me what courage truly means. I always thought courage was the absence of fear, but it is not, is it?" Chen shook her head. "No, courage is being afraid and fighting anyway. Courage is knowing you might lose everything and still choosing to protect someone else. Courage is deciding that some things are worth dying for. And worth living for. Especially worth living for." Chen sat down across from him. She looked tired, Zoreth realized. Tired but satisfied. Every soldier who died today died protecting something. They died knowing their sacrifice had meaning. That is not a tragedy, Admiral. That is a gift. "A gift," Zoreth repeated. "Your species has a strange relationship with death." "We have a strange relationship with everything," Chen admitted. "But we have learned to make peace with mortality. We know we will all die someday. The only question is whether we die for something or for nothing. My soldiers chose to die for something, for someone. That is why they did not fear." Zoreth was silent for a long time, processing her words. Finally, he spoke. "Admiral Chen, I have a request." "Name it." "I would like to spend time with your people, to learn more about them, about their history, their culture, their philosophy of life and death. Would you permit this?" Chen smiled. "I think that could be arranged. Though I warn you, Admiral, we are a complicated species. Understanding us is not easy. Nothing worth understanding ever is." They talked late into the night. Chen told him stories of human history, stories of war and peace, stories of heroes and villains, stories of ordinary people who became extraordinary through sacrifice. And slowly, gradually, Zareth began to understand. Humans were not fearless because they were stupid or because they did not understand death. They were fearless because they had learned to transform fear into purpose. They had learned that love was stronger than death. They had learned that a life lived for others was the only life worth living. It was a lesson that would change Zorath forever. and a lesson that would change the Federation itself. 3 months after the Battle of the Colony ships, Admiral Zorath received orders to report to Federation Central Command on Veloria Prime. He was not surprised. His unauthorized intervention in the battle had caused considerable controversy. Many in the Federation Council believed he had overstepped his authority. He arrived at command headquarters on a cold morning, the twin suns of Veloria barely visible through the heavy clouds. Supreme Commander Zalith was waiting for him in the Grand Chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing the current state of Federation defenses. Zalith was old, even by Velorian standards. Her 4 eyes had faded to a pale gray, and her movements were slow and deliberate. But her mind was still sharp. She had commanded the Federation Navy for over 200 years, guiding it through countless conflicts. "Admiral Zorath," she said as he entered, "please sit." He took his place across from her. The chamber was empty except for the 2 of them. "You know why I have summoned you," Zalith said. "I assume it concerns my action at the Battle of the Colony ships." "It does. The Council is displeased. You disobeyed direct orders. You risked Federation vessels without authorization. You could have caused an interstellar incident." "The humans were dying," Zorath said simply. "I could not stand by and watch." "And yet that was precisely what your orders commanded you to do. Observe and report. Nothing more." "My orders were wrong." Zalith's eyes narrowed slightly. "That is a bold statement, Admiral." "It is the truth. The Federation has always prided itself on neutrality, on caution, on careful calculation of risk and reward. But there are times when calculation is not enough. There are times when we must act, not because it is safe, but because it is right. And who decides what is right? In that moment I did. I saw innocent people about to die. I saw brave soldiers willing to sacrifice themselves to protect them. And I knew that if I did nothing, if I followed my orders and simply watched, I would be complicit in their deaths. I could not accept that. Zalith was silent for a long moment. Then, to Zorath's surprise, she smiled. "You have changed, Admiral. 3 months ago you would never have spoken this way. You would have followed orders without question. What happened?" "The humans happened," Zorath admitted. "Admiral Chen, specifically. She showed me something I had forgotten, something I am not sure I ever truly knew." "And what was that?" "She showed me that duty is not just about following orders. It is about protecting those who cannot protect themselves. It is about standing up for what is right, even when it is dangerous. It is about being willing to sacrifice everything for something greater than yourself." "The humans have a word for this," Zalith said. "They call it heroism." "Yes, and they do not reserve it for special individuals. They believe that anyone can be a hero. Any ordinary person can choose to do something extraordinary. They believe in the potential of every individual to rise above their circumstances and become something greater." "A dangerous philosophy," Zalith observed. "It encourages recklessness, individualism, disobedience." "Or courage, initiative, moral clarity." Zalith leaned back in her chair. "The Council wants you punished, Admiral. They want you stripped of your rank and command. They say you set a dangerous precedent." Zorath nodded slowly. "I expected as much. However, I have convinced them to delay any decision. I told them I wanted to understand your reasoning before any action was taken. And now that you understand, now I am not certain what to recommend." Zalith rose and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. "I have been Supreme Commander for a very long time, Admiral. I have seen the Federation grow from a handful of worlds to an alliance spanning hundreds of systems. I have seen species rise and fall. I have seen wars begin and end. And through all of it, I have relied on one principle above all others: caution." "Caution has served us well," Zorath agreed. "It has. But lately, I have begun to wonder if it has served us too well. We have become so focused on avoiding risk that we have forgotten how to embrace opportunity. We have become so concerned with survival that we have forgotten how to live." She turned back to face him. "The humans are different. They take risks. They make mistakes. They fail, often spectacularly. But they also achieve things that we would never dream of attempting. They reach for the stars not because it is safe, but because it is there. They fight not because they expect to win, but because they believe the fight itself has meaning." "You have studied them," Zorath said. "I have been studying them since the Battle of the Colony ships. I have read their history. I have analyzed their culture. I have tried to understand what makes them so different from every other species in the Federation." "And what have you concluded?" Zalith smiled again, but this time there was something sad in her expression. "I have concluded that they may be exactly what the Federation needs, a reminder that survival is not enough, That life must have meaning. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. Then you will not punish me. I will do more than that. Zalith returned to her seat and called up a holographic document. I am creating a new position within the Federation Navy, Human Relations Liaison. Your task will be to integrate human tactics and philosophy into our military structure, to teach our officers what you have learned, to help us understand what makes the humans so different. This is unprecedented, Zorath said. So was your intervention at the colony ships, but I have learned from you, Admiral. Sometimes unprecedented action is exactly what is needed. She pushed the document toward him. Will you accept? Zorath looked at the commission. It was a significant responsibility. It would mean restructuring his entire career. It would mean facing resistance from traditionalists throughout the Federation. But it would also mean honoring what Admiral Chen and her soldiers had taught him. It would mean spreading their philosophy of courage and sacrifice to species who had never known such things. I accept, he said. Excellent. Your first assignment begins tomorrow. A delegation of human military officers will arrive at Veloria Prime. They will spend 3 months working with our academy, training our cadets in human combat tactics and philosophy. You will oversee this exchange. Understood. And Zorath, Zalith's voice softened slightly. Learn everything you can. I have a feeling we will need what the humans have to teach us. The Krell were defeated at the colony ships, but they will return. And when they do, we must be ready. We will be, Zorath promised. The humans will make sure of it. The human delegation arrived exactly on schedule. Zorath was waiting at the landing pad when their transport touched down, accompanied by a small honor guard of Velorian Marines. The first human to emerge was not what he expected. Instead of the tall, muscular warriors he had imagined, she was small and slight, barely reaching his shoulder. Her hair was dark, her skin brown, her eyes quick and observant. She carried no weapons, only a simple bag over one shoulder. Admiral Zorath, she said, extending her hand. It was a human greeting he knew, a sign of peaceful intent. He took her hand carefully, mindful of his greater strength. You are the leader of the delegation. I am Lieutenant Colonel Maya Reyes, Earth Defense Force. Please call me Maya. Colonel Reyes, welcome to Veloria Prime. Thank you, Admiral. May I introduce my team? She gestured to the other humans filing out of the transport. These are the finest instructors the Earth Defense Force has to offer, specialists in tactics, strategy, leadership, and psychology. We are here to teach, but also to learn. We are honored to have you. The honor is ours. Reyes looked around at the alien cityscape surrounding them. I must admit, Admiral, we were surprised by this invitation. The Federation has not always been receptive to human ideas. Things change, Zorath said. I have changed, and I hope the Federation will change as well. What changed you, if you do not mind my asking? Zorath considered the question. I watched your people die. I watched them sacrifice themselves for strangers. I watched them fight without hope of victory, simply because they believed it was right. And I realized that I had never truly understood courage until that moment. Reyes nodded slowly. The Battle of the Colony ships, I read the reports. Admiral Chen is a legend now. They are building a statue of her on Earth. She deserves it. She would hate it, Reyes said with a small smile. Chen never wanted recognition. She just wanted to protect people. The statue was not her idea. Then whose idea was it? The people she saved. The 40,000 civilians who are alive today because of her. They demanded it. The government could not refuse. Zorath found himself moved by this. The humans honored their heroes not through commands or decrees, but through the grateful memories of those they had protected. It was a fitting tribute. Come, he said. I will show you to your quarters. Tomorrow the real work begins. They walked together through the city, the human delegation and the Velorian honor guard. Citizens stopped to stare as they passed. Humans were still a rare sight on Veloria Prime, and these humans moved differently from most aliens. They walked with confidence, with purpose, as if they belonged here despite being strangers. Admiral, Reyes said as they walked, may I ask you something? Of course. When you intervened at the colony ships, you disobeyed direct orders. In the human military, that would be a serious offense, possibly criminal. How did your superiors respond? With concern, Zorath admitted. There were those who wanted me punished, removed from command, perhaps imprisoned. But that did not happen. No, Supreme Commander Zalith intervened. She decided that my actions, while technically unauthorized, served a greater purpose. She gave me this position instead of punishment. Reyes nodded thoughtfully. That is interesting. In our military, we have a concept called constructive disobedience. It refers to situations where following orders would be morally wrong, and where disobedience serves a higher ethical purpose. And how is such disobedience treated? It depends on the outcome. If the disobedience saves lives or serves justice, it is often celebrated. If it causes harm, it is punished. We judge actions by their results as well as their intentions. A practical approach. Humans are practical people. We learned long ago that rigid adherence to rules can sometimes cause more harm than flexibility. Our greatest heroes are often those who broke the rules for the right reasons. They reached the guest quarters, a tower of crystal and light overlooking the central plaza. The humans looked up at it with expressions of wonder. It is beautiful, Ray said. It is ancient, Zorath replied. Built over 2,000 years ago when Veloria was young, it has housed many important guests, diplomats, scholars, kings and queens of 100 worlds. And now it houses us, simple soldiers. There is nothing simple about what you do, Colonel. You protect lives. You sacrifice your own safety for others. That is worthy of any honor we can offer. Reyes looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled, genuinely warm. I think we are going to get along very well, Admiral Zorath. I think we are going to accomplish great things together. I believe you are right. The training program began the next morning. Zorath observed from the back of the lecture hall as Colonel Reyes addressed a room full of Velorian cadets. They sat in perfect rows, their uniforms immaculate, their attention fixed on the small human woman at the front of the room. Good morning, Reyes said. Her voice was calm but carried easily to every corner of the hall. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Maya Reyes. I am here to teach you about human military philosophy, but before we begin, I need to ask you a question. She paused, letting the silence build. What are you willing to die for? The cadets shifted uncomfortably. It was not a question they had expected. Do not answer yet, Reyes continued. Just think about it. Think about what matters enough to you that you would give your life for it. Not because you are ordered to, not because duty demands it, but because you truly, deeply believe it is worth dying for. She walked slowly among the rows of cadets, making eye contact with each one. Humans have been asking this question for thousands of years. Every soldier who puts on our uniform must answer it. Every pilot who climbs into a fighter must answer it. Every officer who sends troops into battle must answer it. And the answer is always the same. She stopped at the front of the room and turned to face them. We die for each other, not for territory, not for resources, not for glory or honor or political gain. We die for each other, for our families, for our friends, for strangers we have never met and will never know. We die because we believe that every life has value. We die because we cannot stand by and watch innocent people suffer when we have the power to help them. A cadet raised her hand. Reyes nodded to her. Colonel, is it true that human soldiers volunteer for dangerous missions, knowing they will probably die? It is true. Why would anyone do that? Reyes smiled. Because someone has to. Because if no one volunteers, innocent people die. Because death is not the worst thing that can happen to a soldier. The worst thing is knowing you could have saved someone and choosing not to try. Another cadet spoke up. But surely survival has value. If you die, you cannot protect anyone else. Would it not be more logical to preserve your own life so that you can save more lives in the future? That is a reasonable argument, Reyes acknowledged. And sometimes it is correct. We do not seek death. We do not throw away our lives carelessly. But there are moments, critical moments, when one life can save many, when one sacrifice can change everything. In those moments, we choose to sacrifice, not because we want to die, but because we want others to live. Zorath listened with growing admiration. Reyes had a gift for communication. She spoke simply, clearly, without pretension, but her words carried weight. They resonated with something deep inside the listeners. Let me tell you a story, Reyes continued. 100 years ago on Earth there was a terrible war. Millions of people died, cities were destroyed, nations crumbled. It was the darkest time in human history, but in that darkness there were lights, ordinary people who became heroes. She activated a holographic display, showing images of a burned city, soldiers in ancient uniforms, children huddled in rubble. In one city, a group of teachers refused to abandon their students when the enemy arrived. They could have fled. They could have saved themselves. Instead, they stayed. They hid the children in basements and attics. They shared their food, their warmth, their hope. And when the enemy came looking for the children, the teachers lied. They protected them with words when they could not protect them with weapons. The images showed faces now. Old photographs of young men and women, their eyes tired but determined. Many of those teachers died. They were discovered, captured, executed. But the children survived. Over 2,000 children saved because a handful of educators decided that those young lives mattered more than their own. She paused, letting the images fade. That is what courage looks like. Not soldiers with weapons, not warriors in battle, ordinary people making extraordinary choices, choosing love over fear, choosing sacrifice over safety, choosing hope over despair. The room was silent. Zoreth realized he was holding his breath. In the coming weeks, Reyes said, we will teach you tactics and strategies. We will show you how humans fight, how we think, how we make decisions under pressure. But I want you to remember this lesson above all others. Everything we do, every technique we teach, every skill we share comes from this single truth. We fight for each other. We die for each other. And we live for each other. She smiled, and suddenly she looked less like a soldier and more like what she truly was. A teacher, a protector, a guardian of hope. Now let us begin. The weeks that followed were intense. The human instructors worked tirelessly, sharing everything they knew with their Valorian students. Tactics, psychology, leadership, ethics. Every aspect of human military philosophy was examined and discussed. Zoreth attended every session. He took notes. He asked questions. He spent long hours with Reyes and her team, learning not just their techniques but their way of thinking. And slowly he began to change. It was not obvious at first. Small shifts in his behavior, a greater willingness to question orders, a deeper concern for the welfare of his subordinates, a new appreciation for individual initiative and creativity. But the biggest change was internal. He began to see the universe differently. Where before he had seen threats and opportunities, calculations and probabilities, he now saw something more. He saw meaning, purpose, the web of connections that linked every living being to every other. You are becoming one of us, Reyes told him one evening, as they sat together on the observation deck of the academy. Below them, cadets trained in simulated combat, their movements sharp and precise. I am not sure that is possible, Zoreth said. I am Valorian. My biology, my culture, my history, everything about me is different from you. The body is different, Reyes agreed. The mind may be different, but the heart can be the same. You have learned to feel what we feel, to care what we care about, to fight for what we fight for. In every way that matters, you are one of us. I am honored you think so. It is not just me. Reyes gestured toward the cadets below. They feel it too. You have inspired them, Admiral. Your story, how you disobeyed orders to save lives, how you risked everything for strangers, it has become legend among them. They call you the first hero. The first non-human to truly understand human courage. The first to embrace our philosophy. The first to prove that what makes us special is not our bodies or our history, but our choice. Our decision to stand for something greater than ourselves. Zoreth was silent for a long moment. Then quietly he said, I am not a hero. I simply saw what was right and could not look away. That is exactly what makes you a hero, Reyes replied. Heroes are not born. They are made in single moments of choice. You made yours at the colony ships, and everything since then has flowed from that decision. Below them, the simulation ended. The cadets gathered in groups, discussing what they had learned, arguing about tactics and strategy. Their voices rose through the evening air, full of energy and passion. They are ready, Reyes said. The first generation of non-human soldiers to be trained in human philosophy. They will carry what they have learned to every corner of the Federation. They will teach others, and those others will teach more. It will spread, Admiral, like fire, like light. What we have planted here will grow beyond anything we can imagine. And the Krell. Reyes' expression hardened slightly. The Krell will return. They always do. But when they come, they will face something they have never faced before. A federation united not just by treaty, but by purpose. A federation that fights not because it has to, but because it believes in something worth fighting for. You think we can defeat them? I think we can do more than that. I think we can transform them. The Krell are driven by fear, fear of extinction, fear of weakness, fear of the universe itself. They fight because they believe they must dominate or be dominated. But what if we showed them another way? What if we proved that cooperation, sacrifice, and love are stronger than fear? A noble vision. Perhaps impossible, but worth trying. Reyes stood and stretched, then offered her hand to help him up. That is another human trait, Admiral. We attempt the impossible because we believe that trying has value in itself. Even if we fail moving forward, fail reaching for something better. Zorath took her hand and rose. Together, they looked out at the academy, at the cadets, at the strange and beautiful alien city that was beginning to feel like home. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For teaching me, for giving me purpose, for showing me that there is more to existence than survival." Ray smiled. "Thank you for learning, that is all any teacher can ask." They stood together in comfortable silence as the night deepened around them, two soldiers from different worlds, united by something stronger than biology or culture, united by choice, by belief, by the simple but profound decision to fight for something greater than themselves. And somewhere in the darkness the Krell waited, watching, planning, preparing for their return. But they did not know what awaited them. They did not know that the Federation had changed. They did not know that the humans had shared their greatest gift, not weapons or technology but courage. The courage to stand, the courage to sacrifice, the courage to love. They did not know that the universe was about to learn why humans fight fearlessly. 2 years passed. The human military integration program expanded beyond anything Zorath had imagined. Hundreds of instructors now taught at academies across the Federation. Thousands of officers had been trained in human philosophy and tactics. The change was visible everywhere, in the way soldiers carried themselves, in the decisions commanders made, in the very language the Federation used to discuss military matters. And then the Krell returned. They came with a fleet larger than any seen before. Over 10,000 warships, supported by massive command vessels and swarms of fighter craft. They emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Federation territory and began their advance, consuming everything in their path. The Federation Council met in emergency session. Zorath attended, no longer a simple fleet admiral but the commander of the Federation's Human Tactics Division. He stood before the assembled representatives, his 4 eyes calm, his voice steady. "The Krell have learned nothing," he said. "They believe that overwhelming force is the path to victory. They believe that we will surrender when we see their numbers. They are wrong." "How can you be certain?" asked a Rigelian representative, her blue skin pale with fear. "Because we have changed. 2 years ago we would have retreated. We would have calculated the odds and concluded that resistance was futile. We would have sought to negotiate, to appease, to survive at any cost. But we are not that Federation anymore." He activated a holographic display showing the deployment of Federation forces. "We will meet them at the Kalari Nebula. It is a choke point. Narrow passages through the stellar dust will limit their ability to bring their full force to bear. We will use the terrain to our advantage." "And if we fail?" another representative asked. "Then we fail fighting. We fail protecting. We fail doing what is right. But we will not fail alone, and we will not fail in vain. Every ship we destroy, every soldier we kill, weakens the Krell for those who come after us. Our sacrifice will have meaning." The chamber fell silent. Then slowly Supreme Commander Zaleth rose. "Admiral Zorath speaks wisdom," she said. "I have watched this Federation transform over the past 2 years. I have seen courage replace caution. I have seen purpose replace fear. And I have seen that the humans were right all along. Some things are worth dying for." She turned to address the full council. "I recommend that we approve Admiral Zorath's plan. We will make our stand at the Kalari Nebula. We will show the Krell that the Federation is not the weak, divided alliance they remember. We will show them what courage looks like." The vote was unanimous. For the first time in Federation history, there were no abstentions, no dissents, no calls for further negotiation. Every species, every world, every representative chose to fight. The fleet assembled over the following days. Ships from dozens of worlds gathered at the staging point, their crews drilling in the tactics they had learned from human instructors. At the center of the formation was the new flagship, the Unity, a massive battle cruiser named for the principle that had transformed the Federation. And aboard the Unity in the command center stood Admiral Zorath. Beside him was Colonel Reyes, now promoted to general and serving as his chief tactical advisor. Around them, the bridge crew worked in focused silence. "They are coming," Reyes said quietly, watching the sensor display. "Larger fleet than we expected, almost 12,000 ships now." "We have 7,000, Zorath replied. "It will be enough." "The odds are not in our favor." "The odds rarely are, but we are not fighting for odds. We are fighting for each other, for the civilians behind us, for the future we believe in." Reyes smiled. "You have learned well, Admiral." "I had good teachers." The Krell fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the nebula, their ships blotting out the stars. They were arranged in their traditional formation, a massive wedge designed to overwhelm through sheer numbers. A communication request came from the Krell flagship. Zorath accepted it. The face that appeared on the viewscreen was unlike anything human or Valorian. The Krell were insected, with compound eyes and clicking mandibles. Their leader, a massive creature covered in ceremonial armor, stared at Zorath with open contempt. "Federation," it rasped. "You stand against us. This is foolish. We are many, you are few. Surrender now and we will kill you quickly. Resist and we will make your death slow. I am Admiral Zorath of the Federation Combined Fleet, and I have a message for you." "What message?" "We will not surrender. We will not retreat. We will not negotiate. You have come to conquer and we have come to stop you. Many of us will die today, perhaps all of us. But we will die fighting. We will die protecting those who cannot protect themselves. We will die proving that there are things stronger than fear." The Krell leader made a sound that might have been laughter. "You speak like the humans. We have studied them, weak creatures, soft, emotional, they die easily. They die easily because they do not run. They die easily because they stand their ground when others would flee. That is not weakness. That is strength you cannot understand. We will teach you understanding. We will teach you pain. And when your fleet is ashes, we will find your worlds and burn them one by one." "You will try," Zorath said, "and you will fail." He closed the channel. Around him, the bridge crew looked at him with a mixture of fear and admiration. "All ships," he announced over the fleet-wide channel. "This is Admiral Zorath. The enemy is before us. They are many and we are few. They expect us to be afraid. They expect us to surrender or flee. Let us show them what we have learned." He paused, feeling the weight of the moment. "Today we fight for the Federation. For every world, every species, every life that depends on us. Today we fight for each other. For the soldier beside us. For the family waiting at home. For the strangers we have never met and will never meet. Today we prove that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to stand despite it." His voice rose, filling with passion. "Humans taught us this truth. They showed us that sacrifice has meaning. They showed us that love is stronger than death. Now we carry that truth forward. Now we become what they have always been. Now we fight not because we must, but because we believe." He drew himself up to his full height. "All ships advance, for the Federation, for humanity, for each other." The fleet surged forward, 7,000 ships against 12,000, charging into the mouth of death with courage burning in their hearts. And the universe watched and wondered, and began to understand why humans fight fearlessly. The Battle of Kalari Nebula would be remembered as one of the greatest military engagements in galactic history. For 3 days, the Federation fleet held the chokepoint against overwhelming odds. Ships were destroyed. Lives were lost. The nebula itself burned with the fire of countless explosions. But the Federation did not retreat. Zorath commanded from the Unity, coordinating the defense with a calm precision that amazed even his human advisors. He moved ships like pieces on a game board, always finding the weakness in the Krell formation, always staying one step ahead. When the Unity itself came under attack, targeted by a squadron of Krell destroyers, Zorath did not flinch. He ordered return fire, directed damage control teams, kept his crew focused on the mission. And when a damage report came in showing critical hull breaches on 3 decks, he simply nodded and ordered emergency repairs. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we are receiving a transmission from the human carrier Perseverance. They are asking permission to move to a forward position." Zorath pulled up the tactical display. The Perseverance was one of the oldest ships in the human fleet, a veteran of a dozen battles. Her captain was a man named James Okonkwo, one of the original instructors from the Human Military Integration Program. "Forward position will put them directly in the path of the main Krell assault," Zorath observed. "They will be destroyed." "Captain Okonkwo is aware of that, sir," he says. The communications officer hesitated. "He says it is their turn." Zorath understood immediately. Throughout the battle, different ships had taken positions of maximum danger, absorbing the brunt of Krell attacks while other vessels maneuvered. It was a human tactic, one that relied on trust and sacrifice. Each ship knew that others would do the same when their turn came. "Permission granted," he said. "Tell Captain Okonkwo, tell him thank you." The Perseverance moved forward. For 2 hours she held the center of the line, absorbing punishment that would have destroyed a lesser ship. Her weapons fired until they overheated. Her shields flickered and died, and still she fought. When she finally exploded, taking 3 Krell battlecruisers with her, the entire Federation fleet observed a moment of silence. Then they kept fighting. On the second day, General Reyes took command of a desperate counterattack. The Krell had broken through the left flank, and Federation ships were being overwhelmed. Without hesitation, she transferred her flag to a light cruiser and led a squadron directly into the breach. "You do not have to do this," Zoreth told her over a private channel. "You are too valuable to risk." "I am not more valuable than anyone else," she replied. "I am not more important than the soldiers fighting beside me. Today I do what they do. Today I stand where they stand." The counterattack succeeded. The breach was sealed. But Reyes' ship was heavily damaged, and she spent the next 12 hours trapped in a damaged compartment with her surviving crew, waiting for rescue. Zoreth sent 6 ships to extract her. All 6 were destroyed. The 7th succeeded, pulling Reyes and her crew to safety just minutes before her ship broke apart. When she returned to the Unity, she was covered in burns and exhaustion, but her eyes were bright. "We held," she said. "We actually held." "We did more than hold," Zoreth replied. "We are winning." On the third day, the Krell fleet began to crack. Their losses had been catastrophic, over 6,000 ships destroyed, with thousands more damaged. Their carefully planned assault had become a grinding war of attrition, and they were losing. The Krell leader requested a communication. Zoreth accepted. "Federation," the creature said. Its voice was different now, stripped of its earlier contempt. "You fight well, better than any species we have encountered. How is this possible?" "We learned from the best," Zoreth said. "We learned from humans." "The humans are not a warrior species. They are soft. They should be easy to conquer." "You do not understand them. You see their softness and think it is weakness. But it is not weakness. It is love. They love their families. They love their friends. They love strangers they have never met. And that love makes them fight harder than any hatred could." "Explain." "Fear makes you fight to survive. Hatred makes you fight to destroy. But love makes you fight to protect. And protection is the strongest motivation of all. A soldier fighting for survival will retreat when the odds are against them. A soldier fighting from hatred will make mistakes, lose control. But a soldier fighting to protect someone they love will never stop. They will never surrender. They will fight until they win or until they die, and even death will not break them." The Krell leader was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke again. "We have never encountered this before. Our species fights only for dominance. We have no word for this. Love, you describe. Then let me show you what it looks like." Zoreth activated a holographic display showing the Federation fleet. He highlighted ship after ship, explaining who crewed each one, what worlds they came from, what they were fighting for. "This vessel is crewed by Rigelians. They are fighting for their colony on the 3rd moon of Kalari. 5 million civilians, families, children. The Rigelians have never been warriors, but today they fight like heroes because those 5 million lives depend on them." He moved to another ship. "This one is Threxian. The Threxians joined the Federation only 8 years ago. They were neutral in every previous conflict, but they saw what the humans taught us and they chose to stand with us. Their captain lost her mate in the first wave of your attack. She is still fighting. She has destroyed 4 of your cruisers." Ship after ship, story after story, a tapestry of courage woven from hundreds of threads, each one a life, a family, a love worth protecting. "This is why we fight," Zoreth said finally. "This is why we do not fear death, because some things are worth dying for, and the people behind us, the millions of lives depending on this fleet, they are worth everything." The Krell leader stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, it made a gesture that Zoreth did not recognize. "We will withdraw," it said. "Not because we are defeated. We could still destroy you. We still have the numbers, but we will withdraw because you have shown us something we did not expect. You have shown us strength we do not understand. We must consider this. We must learn what you have learned." "If you wish to learn," Zoreth said, "we will teach you. The humans taught us and we will teach you, but only if you come in peace, only if you abandon conquest and choose cooperation. We make no promises." "Neither do we, but the offer stands. The Federation was built on cooperation between species who were once enemies. There is room for more, if you choose to take it." The channel closed, and over the next hour, the Krell fleet began to withdraw, their ships retreating one by one into hyperspace until only empty space remained. The Battle of Kalari Nebula was over. The Federation had won. Zoreth stood on the observation deck of the Unity, watching the stars. Behind him, the sounds of celebration echoed through the ship, crew members embracing, laughing, weeping with relief and joy. General Reyes joined him, moving slowly because of her injuries but with a smile on her face. You did it, she said. You saved the Federation. We did it, Zorath corrected. All of us. Humans and Valorians and Rigelians and everyone else, together. The Krell actually withdrew. I never thought I would see that. Neither did I, but they saw something today that they have never seen before. They saw courage. True courage. The courage to stand for something greater than yourself. It confused them, disturbed them, perhaps even inspired them. Do you think they will come back? Perhaps, perhaps not. But if they do, they will know what to expect. And if they choose to come as friends instead of enemies, he shrugged, then we will welcome them, as we welcomed the humans, as we welcomed everyone who chose to stand with us. Reyes looked at him for a long moment. You have become what we hoped you would become, Admiral, a bridge between worlds, a living proof that what makes humanity special is not our bodies or our history, but our choice, our decision to love. I had good teachers. You had the best, she smiled. Admiral Chen would be proud. She saw something in you that day at the colony ships. She saw potential. She knew you would become more than you were. I wish I could thank her. She knows, trust me. Wherever she is, she knows. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars wheel slowly past. What happens now? Zorath asked finally. Now we rebuild. We mourn our dead. We honor our heroes. And we prepare for whatever comes next. The future is uncertain. The future is always uncertain. But that is what makes it worth fighting for. We do not know what tomorrow will bring. We only know that we will face it together. As one. As the Federation. Zorath nodded slowly. Then let us begin. He turned and walked back toward the bridge, where his crew waited, where the work of building the future would begin. And as he walked, he thought about everything he had learned in the past 2 years. About courage and sacrifice. About love and loss. About the extraordinary power of ordinary people choosing to do extraordinary things. The humans had taught him well. They had shown him why they fought fearlessly. And now that knowledge belonged not just to him but to the entire Federation. A gift beyond measure. A truth that would echo through the ages. Some things are worth dying for. Some things are worth fighting for. Some things are worth living for. And the most important thing of all, the only thing that truly matters, is each other. 10 years after the Battle of Kalari Nebula, Fleet Admiral Zorath stood in the Great Hall of Federation Central Command, preparing to give the most important speech of his career. The hall was filled with representatives from every species in the Federation, over 300 worlds now, united under a single banner of cooperation and mutual defense. Among them, sitting in a place of honor, was a Krell delegation. The Krell had changed in the decades since their defeat. They had not become peaceful, their biology made that impossible, but they had learned to channel their aggression into productive competition. They challenged the Federation at science, at exploration, at discovery. They fought with ideas instead of weapons, and slowly, gradually, they had earned the trust needed to apply for Federation membership. Today was the final vote. Zorath approached the podium, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. He was old now, even by Valorian standards. His 4 eyes had begun to fade, and his movements were slower than they once were. But his voice was still strong, still capable of carrying to every corner of the hall. Friends, he began, colleagues, members of the Federation, we gather today to decide whether to welcome a new species into our alliance. The Krell have applied for membership. They seek to join us, to stand beside us, to share in our mission of cooperation and mutual defense. He paused, looking around the hall. I know that many of you have reservations. The Krell were our enemies. They attacked our worlds, killed our people, nearly destroyed everything we have built. Those wounds do not heal easily. Those memories do not fade. He turned to look at the Krell delegation. Their leader met his gaze steadily. But I ask you to remember something. I ask you to remember what we have learned over the past decade, what the humans taught us, what we have taught each other. He straightened, his voice growing stronger. The humans showed us that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to act despite fear, to stand when every instinct screams at you to run, to protect when protection seems impossible, to love when love seems foolish. He turned back to the assembly. And they showed us something else. They showed us that enemies can become friends, that those who once sought to destroy us can learn to stand beside us. The humans have a long and bloody history. They have fought terrible wars among themselves. They have committed atrocities that would horrify any species in this hall, but they chose to change. They chose to transform their aggression into cooperation, their hatred into love. He spread his arms wide, encompassing the entire hall. Today, humans are among our most valued partners. They serve on every council, every committee, every fleet. They have earned our trust through sacrifice and service. They proved that species can change, that redemption is possible, that the future does not have to be like the past. He paused, letting his words sink in. The Krell ask for the same opportunity. They ask us to judge them not by what they were, but by what they might become. They ask for a chance to prove that they, too, can change, that they, too, can learn what we have learned, that they, too, can become part of something greater than themselves. He looked at the Krell delegation again. I know them, I have studied them. I have spoken with their leaders and walked among their people, and I have seen something in them that reminds me of what I once saw in the humans, a spark of potential, a capacity for growth, a willingness to learn. His voice softened. 15 years ago, I watched human ships burn at the Battle of the Colony Ships. I watched Admiral Chen and her soldiers sacrifice themselves to protect strangers. I did not understand it then. I thought they were fools. I thought their sacrifice was meaningless. He shook his head slowly. I was wrong. Their sacrifice was the most meaningful thing I have ever witnessed. It taught me what courage truly means. It taught me what love truly means. It transformed me from a cautious bureaucrat into whatever I am now. He smiled, a rare expression among his species. The humans have a saying, pay it forward. When someone does something good for you, you do something good for someone else. You spread the kindness. You share the gift. You transform the universe one act at a time. He raised his voice, addressing the entire hall. The humans paid it forward to us. They shared their courage, their wisdom, their philosophy of sacrifice and love. Now it is our turn. Now we must pay it forward to the Krell. We must give them the same chance that we were given. The chance to learn, to grow, to become something more than they were. He paused, gathering himself for the final words. I recommend that we accept the Krell's application for membership, not because they deserve it, not because they have earned it, but because we believe, as the humans taught us to believe, that everyone deserves a chance. Everyone has the potential for greatness. Everyone can learn to love. He stepped back from the podium. The future is uncertain, it always has been, but I know this, whatever challenges await us, whatever enemies we face, whatever trials we must endure, we will face them together. Humans and Valorians and Rigelians and Threxians and yes, even Krell, united not by treaty or necessity but by choice, by belief, by love. He raised his hand in the traditional Valorian salute. That is why humans fight fearlessly. That is why we fight fearlessly now. And that is why we will keep fighting, keep standing, keep protecting, until the universe itself learns to love as we have learned. The hall erupted in applause. Not just polite acknowledgement, but genuine emotion, the sound of hundreds of species united by a single truth. The vote was called. The result was nearly unanimous. The Krell were welcomed into the Federation. After the ceremony, Zoreth walked alone through the gardens of Federation Central Command. The twin suns of Veloria were setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. It was beautiful, he thought, more beautiful than he had ever noticed before. A familiar figure fell into step beside him. General Reyes, now Supreme Commander Reyes, the first human to hold that position, matched his pace with easy grace. Good speech, she said. Thank you. You have come a long way, Admiral, from watching humans die to advocating for their former enemies. Quite a journey. The journey is not over, it never is. No, but milestones matter. Today was a milestone. They walked in silence for a while, enjoying the evening air. I received a message today, Reyes said finally, from Admiral Chen's family. Her granddaughter is graduating from the academy next month, top of her class. They invited me to speak at the ceremony. Will you go? Of course. Chen saved my life once, you know, before the Battle of the Colony Ships, early in my career. I was a lieutenant on a damaged cruiser. She brought her ship alongside and held position for 6 hours while we evacuated. She could have left at any time, but she stayed. That sounds like her. It is. Her spirit lives on in her family, in her students, in everyone she ever touched. Reyes looked at him. Including you, Admiral, including all of us. Zoreth nodded slowly. She taught me the most important lesson of my life, that some things are worth dying for, that courage comes from love, that the measure of a life is not its length but its meaning. And what meaning have you found? He considered the question carefully. I have found that existence is not about survival, it is about connection, about the web of relationships that link us to each other. Every person we protect, every life we save, every soul we touch, they become part of us, and we become part of them. That web is stronger than death. It survives even when we do not. Ray smiled. Chen would have liked that answer. I hope so. They reached the edge of the gardens where a small memorial stood, a statue of Admiral Chen, erected after the Battle of the Colony ships. She was shown in her uniform looking outward toward the stars, toward the future. Zorath stopped before the statue and bowed his head. Thank you, he said quietly, for everything, for showing me the truth, for giving me purpose, for transforming me into something better than I was. The statue did not answer. Of course it did not. Chen was long dead, her ashes scattered among the stars she had fought to protect. But Zorath felt her presence anyway, in the courage of the soldiers who carried on her legacy, in the wisdom of the students who learned her lessons, in the love that flowed through the Federation like blood through veins. She was gone, but she was everywhere. Her sacrifice had meaning, her death had purpose, and her spirit would live on in everyone who learned why humans fight fearlessly. Zorath straightened and turned away from the memorial. The suns had set and the stars were beginning to appear, millions of points of light, each one a world, a home, a collection of lives worth protecting. Come, he said to Rays. There is work to do, a universe to protect, a future to build. Together. Always together. They walked into the night, two old soldiers from different worlds, united by something stronger than biology or culture, united by choice, by purpose, by love. And somewhere among the stars, the spirit of Admiral Chen watched over them, smiling, proud, forever present in the courage of those she had inspired. The lesson had been learned, the truth had spread, the universe had changed. And it would never be the same again.